Well, welcome to another Tuesday. Herd's getting ready to head to Southern Miss this weekend. Obviously, this is an action-packed week for Marshall Athletics, and I appreciate you all taking your time to be here. Herd heads to Southern Miss, like I said. That's going to be a 3 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Central game. If you didn't see yesterday, the November 16th game, 75 game will be a 1 p.m. kickoff here. Then that evening will be basketball 7 p.m. To answer questions about today's game, or this weekend's game, here's Coach Huff.
Good afternoon. Again, appreciate you guys being here. First, starting off, want to congratulate Coach Corny Jackson on his first win as a head coach. Obviously, that's a huge win for his program. Looking forward to a great season, so please continue to go out. Also, support our women's program. Coach Falk and her team battled a really good battle last night as well. So really excited about the opportunity for those two coaches and their teams and programs moving forward. Obviously, last week's game, really proud of the players' resiliency, really proud of the players' ability to respond, really proud of their team execution when it mattered. Things we got to get cleaned up for sure. Improved on some things. Some guys stepped up, made some plays in critical moments. Hats off to the ULM program, a really tough opponent, improved, tremendously. Obviously, another challenge this weekend against a really good Southern Miss team. Coach Stringer and his staff. You talk about the competitiveness in this league. When you watch the film, the records and the film don't match. Obviously, there's reasons. Obviously, there's missed opportunities. But when you look at the talent on their team in spots, they are an extremely talented football team. They play really hard on defense. They've got some guys with some really good athletic ability and power. I think their D-line is really disruptive. Their backers play downhill and physical. They got really good team speed. Their quarterback that they're playing right now does a really good job of creating with his feet. They've got some receivers who can run. So it's going to be a challenge. Excuse me. Obviously, at their place coming off a bye week, getting a chance to heal up and getting a chance to make some corrections, especially with the new staff or kind of the new leadership, is going to be a challenge. Going to have to be able to adjust for whatever they've made adjustments with, and then go execute really well on the road. So with that, I'll open up for questions.
Obviously, Coach Stringer yesterday, kind of called the journey they've been on this year an emotional roller coaster. When you have a team like that at this point in the season is kind of playing with house money, does that make them a little more dangerous when they're playing free and playing for these last four opportunities they have?
I think 18 to 22-year-olds are probably the most resilient group of Americans there are. Everybody playing football loves to play the game. You don't do all the hard work. You don't do all the lifting, all the running, all the sacrificing, not to go out and compete. Obviously, there are tangible things that are tied to records and tied to, flows of the season. But on Saturday when that ball kicks off, it's a bunch of kids that were 5 and 6 years old that played in the backyard until the sun went down. And that's really what you have to be prepared for. You can't really say because of their record they're going to do this or that, or because they have nothing to play for, they're going to, play at a different level. When that ball kicks off, it's a bunch of kids that love to compete, and I think that's the way you got to approach it. Same thing with coaches, right? Coaches that are in this profession love competition. It doesn't matter, what your record are. I get it. That's our job. That's how we're evaluated. But on Saturday afternoon, no one is sitting there saying I'm making this call or I'm making this play or I'm not making this play because of my record. It's an opportunity to go out and compete, an opportunity to create value for themselves. So we got to prepare for that, if that makes sense. I think every team takes the field trying to win. And whatever you need to do in those scenarios to do that, I think that's the main goal. So we just got to be prepared for a really tough physical football game. I think that's the biggest thing that we have to make sure we understand on Saturday.
If you could expand on their offense just a little bit, what are they trying to do to be successful, and where have they found that success? I know the record, as you said, does not match what they're about.
Yeah, I think their quarterback, Ethan Crawford, is doing a really good job. He can create with his legs. He can throw the ball. They've done different things. They had a quarterback that started earlier, and they've kind of made the transition to Crawford. As far as in the run game, he's a valuable piece to the run game. So now you got to add an extra set of eyes on him, which changes some of your fits, which changes who can be, in coverage and how they have to come out of coverage. And then again, they're doing a really good job of running the ball with play action, because again, when you have to be conscientious of the quarterback running, it opens up the throwing lanes. It magnifies it when you have a quarterback that can throw. Typically, you get some that are predominant runners and throw solid, but he's a good thrower as well as a good runner. So they've been able to kind of run the offense through him, which is kind of creating production for the other skill guys.
Coach, because of their struggles this year, obviously I'm sure the hope is to kind of jump out quickly, but does playing on the road require a little extra focus from your guys, knowing that they don't have really anything to lose and they can play freely?
I think the extra focus comes from what we have to gain. That's how we've tried to approach it. We got an opportunity to go on the road, and we got 3 guaranteed left. 4. Was it 4? 4. We got 4 guaranteed left. So let's not lose an opportunity because we weren't focused, whether we're home or away. We try to make sure that it's focused on us. We got to go out and we got to execute. We got to go out and we got to tackle. We got to go out and we got to catch the ball and take care of the ball. If you start putting it on the opponent, then you kind of go in ebbs and flows. Hey, we're playing the Jets this week, so we should play good. Hey, we're playing Huntington High School, so we shouldn't get it. So we try to put it on us, and I think our intentionality and our focus is the key, right? We've got a pretty mature team, not necessarily by age, but about the process. Now, when you start getting to the back end of your season, you got to get really intentional about your focus, really intentional about who the players are that they're trying to get the ball to. What are their tendencies? You got, 8 games of film now. So tendencies should really jump out. Teams do what they do well. The really scenarios in the game. We went back and looked at last game, and there were a lot of scenarios in the game where we just didn't have intentional focus. We had focus, but we didn't have intentional focus, and how just having intentional focus eliminates or creates 2 or 3 other positive situations for you, and when you start to look at the games that way, you really start to become opportunistic. You really start to, make plays consistently. We've been able to execute in spurts, but when you really start to come down to it and you got 4 guaranteed left, you really got to start to, okay, what is the down and distance? What are their tendencies? Where are we at on the field? What have they done on this area of the field? Okay, why are we calling this play? What is coach trying to get done? We called it in practice, and we talked about calling it into this look. Okay, do I have that look? Hey, I'm on special teams. What areas of what blocking angles do I have to have? What leverage do I have to have? All those things got to start coming into your mind rather than, okay, I'm playing the call. And when you really start to narrow it down, you can become a lot more intentionally focused on executing and doing your job. And that's when you start to see, you kind of look across the country, teams start to really roll in the back end of the season. I think that's what starts to happen.
Coach, when you look at this season, and obviously you get out there on the field each and every day, you're working on that game, but do you, sort of stress to your guys now, hey guys, we're only in the stadium one more time, so these 3 of these last 4 are going to be away from home, and the structure of just traveling and all that, is that kind of drilled in these guys, or as you said, a mature bunch of kind of know?
Yeah, you kind of start to really get them to understand we're running out of opportunities to get it right, if that makes sense. We've had the opportunities, we've played some teams, we've had practices, we've learned, we've walked through, we've reloaded, we re-walked through, we've had tests, we've got corrections, but we're running out of opportunities to make these plays or make these series or make the catch or make the interception. Because obviously, like you said, you're getting to the back end of the season. So you really have to start, all these kids, when they come in, they have these goals and aspirations of what they want to do in the season and how they want their season to go personally and collectively, what they want to get accomplished. And as the season goes on, sometimes you can start to lose focus of what you said you wanted to do, exactly. So I try to remind them throughout the year, you guys, we all sat down in camp, and I had them all write down, 1 team goal and 1 personal goal. What do you want to accomplish? All right, I want to have 150 tackles. All right, man, well, you got 6 tackles. You got to start tackling. if you want to reach that goal. Hey, I want 3,000 yards rushing. You got 72 yards rushing, man. You're gonna have to start maximizing. So I think sometimes when you just kind of start reminding them, hey, I got to start doing a little bit more if I want to reach the goal. We talked about it. We want to go down here and win the game. Okay, well, we got to have a really good Tuesday practice if that's what we want to do. We want to go down and win. We got to have a really good Wednesday practice and Thursday practice. So it's been more of a consistent reminder of this is what you said you wanted to do. Here are the opportunities to do it, and I can't guarantee that these opportunities keep coming. I can't guarantee that, there's 4 more games, 5 more games, 6 more. I can't guarantee that, I tell them all the time, we don't, no one knows what's going to happen tomorrow. No one knows what's going to happen Saturday. I can't guarantee that, yes, we're going to throw the ball 62 times. Maybe it's raining. Maybe when we call the run play, it breaks for 80, So if you get a chance to catch the ball, you got to catch the ball, break a tackle, and go score. That's got to kind of be your mindset. I may never get this ball again. And when you have that mindset, I think you become more intentional about, rather than just, yeah, I could have made him miss, but, I didn't. Or, yeah, I could have fallen off that block and got to the tackle, but I didn't. If you can keep that mindset, I think you play with a little bit more edge, a little bit more consistency.
How much have you seen Braylon grow as a quarterback? Obviously, we know his run ability, but took some more chances through the air and converted on a lot of those last week. How much has he grown as a quarterback in that offense?
Yeah, I think it's a combination of things. I think he's improving, and I think Coach Daigie's doing a really good job of staying in his wheelhouse. Even with, there's ways to present plays differently, but keep the same kind of reads, the same kind of process for the quarterback. And I think that's what Coach Daigie's done a really good job of. And, I kind of joke with him all the time because when we first hired him, he said, Coach, you do know that the air raid is whatever's working. And I said, yeah, that's. He said, Coach Leach used to always say it, whatever's working is what the offense is. It's not we have to throw the ball, we have to run the ball. You look at what Braylon has been able to do, it's probably different than what Stone or Cole would have been able to do. But either way, you got to do what's working, So I think Coach Daigie's done a really good job of adapting and adjusting the system to what, works for Braylon. I think Braylon has done a really good job of staying within his lane, and when I say stay within his lane, it's not that he can't do one or the other. He does a really good job with certain looks and certain reads. He feels really comfortable with those. We've found ways, to present those differently, so it's not like, oh, you run the same play over and over. And then he's also gotten to the point where he's comfortable and understands, hey, look, if it's not there, I have the ability to take off. I have the ability to step up. I have the ability to throw it away. I can hand it off to some really good running backs. Our O-line has done a really good job. So I think it's a combination. I think he's done a really good job of, I won't say settling in, but, kind of getting comfortable doing what he's comfortable doing. And then I think, obviously, Coach Daiggie and the offensive staff have done a really good job of, okay, hey, here are the deficiencies in the defense. Here's how we want to attack the defense. How can we present the same plays different ways to help Braylon be more comfortable?
You could expand a little bit for me on the Southern Miss defense. What are you seeing from them when they do find their success as well? And, what are they trying to do?
Yeah, I think they got really good team speed, especially on defense. They run to the ball. You can see them close some angles on some guys quickly, and that's the entire defense, not just one position. I think they're physical. They are a violent. They're bringing the party to you, and I'm not just talking about the ball carrier. They're physical on blockers. They're physical on route runners. It appears they have really good size. I haven't seen them in person, but it appears they have really good size. And then they've got some guys up front who are disruptive. And I think whenever you have a really good defense, you got to have some disruptive guys up front, because what that does is it breaks up your combos in the run game. You can't get comboed up to the backer. It breaks up your pass protection on who you want to help, who you can leave singled up. And then there's always the ability for one of those guys who are disruptive to knock a guy back, and then the run doesn't hit the way it's supposed to. So I think that's a combination of disruptive up front. They got really good team speed on defense, so they run to the ball, and then they're being physical.
Obviously the record on the road the last couple of years is what it is. Do you think about that? Do the guys kind of want to go out there with something to prove? Say, hey, we can win on the road. Especially with three of the last four being away from here.
If we go back to Columbus, it's going to be 4 of the last 5. I mean, I think you got to look at that as well too. And I think it's different now. Yes, it is there. Obviously, we're 0 and whatever, 0 and 9. But you got to realize half this team got here in January, so in their mind they're 0 and 3, if that makes sense. I'm 0 and 9. I own it. But it's hard. It's even hard going back and giving relevance to the Notre Dame game because there's not a lot of guys that were there. Does that make sense? So it makes it tough to say, well, remember last year we're 0 and 9, and some of the new guys like, well, coach, no, we're not. We lost to Virginia Tech in one of the hardest stadiums to play in, and we went to Columbus, and we 56 seconds at Georgia. We're not. You're right. I'm 0 and 9. Okay, so we own it. But I think it's a little bit different. Obviously the record is that, but some of these guys got here in January. They weren't a part of some of the other ones, so it doesn't really resonate. And ultimately, at the end of the day, we got to go execute. We haven't executed well, and on the road. I mean, if we'd have played over at Cabell Midland, if we don't take care of the ball and we don't tackle well, and we give up explosive plays, we were going to be 0 and 30 here in West Virginia. So I don't. I'm not. No, let me say this. I'm not demeaning or taking away from the fact that we got to play better on the road. Actually, on Sunday, I meet with the coordinators and BA and Coach Everett. Is kind of our, everyone's kind of the head of their positions, and I've asked them, hey, what are we doing as far as our process on the road? Are we getting to the stadium early enough? Are we getting them up too early on Friday? Are we getting them up too late on Friday? Are we traveling with the right, the smoothest operation? How can we be more efficient in our travel? How are we packing the equipment truck? Like I'm checking all the things that we need to check because obviously there is a we're missing something there. So we go through it all. What time? Our schedule is the same, but okay. Like for example, this week we're going to lose an hour. With the time change. So we got to be mindful of that in our planning. And how do we not let that affect the kids and affect our normal routine? Are we getting to the stadium early enough? Obviously, we don't have, when we're home, we got, 6 or 7 taping tables. Maybe you don't have 6 or 7 on the road. Or guys being rushed to get out to, pregame. Hey, the walk from the locker room to the field. Do we have it timed out? Like all of the things. Just to make sure we're not being oblivious to the fact that we got to play better on the road. And sometimes it's execution. Sometimes it's, we got to call better plays. Sometimes we got to do a better job in a certain quarter. Sometimes we got to do a better job in a certain phase. But collectively, we've got to get it fixed. It starts with me. I get it. That's why I'm checking every, mousetrap there is. Is the air on the bus cool enough? It's not our buses. So, or is it the smoothest ride possible? Are we taking the best route? Like, we don't eat our food. So the food we're eating, although we're eating the same food, is it the same, quality? Or players, I don't like this food. All the things to make sure. A lot of the things we've done, we've added some things as far as treatment-wise. We're at a hotel, so we don't have, our facility to do treatment on Friday as much. So we've added some things to still get that treatment in. So I get it. I get it. Trust me. If it's one person that thinks about it a lot, it's me. But I want to make sure I'm not just pointing the finger at, one issue. I want to make sure holistically, what can I do better to give this team a better chance, to be successful on the road. The first thing was don't go back to Columbus this year. That was one. But no, I not joke with that. But you got to kind of have a little bit of a mindset of both, because on the other side of that argument, we went to Notre Dame. So there's both ways. We got to play better. We got to coach better. It starts there, and then we got to make sure that everything from a focus standpoint allows our players to be on the same routine.
All righty. Anything further for Coach?
Thanks, guys. I hope everyone goes out and votes today. Really looking forward to everyone making the trip down to Hattiesburg. I believe this is the first time in 6 or 7 years, 8 years that Marshall has played down at Hattiesburg versus a really good program. So really looking forward to it. See everyone Saturday.